everyone, welcome to Digital Cricut Creation. My name is Andrea and I'm a Digital Services Librarian at Richmond Public Library. Today we're going to be looking at Cardstock. We did this previously, but unfortunately the stream just didn't work. You never know how much internet and computing power an app needs, apparently, until it doesn't work. So the stream was super laggy and there wasn't any sound on it, so I wanted to take this chance to just re-record this. I did go over some of the basic information of how to use the Cricut Design Space in that. So this is going to cover that instead of making a birthday card like we did on that stream, because we are so close to Valentine's Day now. I thought we could make some cute Valentine's Day cards. If you're following along and you decide to come in and make your own card, let staff know, because we would love to see your creations, and we would love to be able to feature them on our social media. So let's get started. So it might seem like cardstock is a pretty easy material to use that really, what do you do with it? You make cards like that, or like this. These are ones I've made in the past, so this is kind of what we're going to be doing today. But it has a lot of other applications and can be quite difficult to work with. So this is a A-frame cardstock cabin that I made. It's available in the Cricut Design Space if you want to make your own. But you can see I didn't glue it correctly, so I do have some warping on the sides. So just because it seems like it's easy to work with paper, it can be quite difficult. Hopefully the card we are doing today will be pretty simple and a good introduction to using cardstock. Alright, so I'm just going to show you the tools we're going to be using today. So first and foremost, I have the blue light grip mat. So this is the mat you're going to be using for most paper products. We're going to be using light cardstock today, so you'll definitely want to use the light grip mat. The standard and heavy grip will be too sticky and rip your sheets, which we don't want. And then on top of that, I have the scoring stylus. So we do also carry the scoring wheel here at the library. I prefer to use this, however, because you can actually put it in the clamp A and keep the blade in clamp B, whereas if you're using the scoring wheel, you have to take the blade out and replace it with the scoring wheel. So this one is a little bit more handy. This is available in the Vinyl Essentials kit that you can check out at the library. And then I also have some scissors just in case something doesn't cut through all the way. These are also available in either the Vinyl Essentials or basic toolkits for loan at the library. Then I have the spatula. This is handy if you have something that's a little bit more detailed and it's not quite coming off the mat the way you'd like. You can slide this under and it prevents tears when you're taking paper off. And then I have the vinyl weeding tool. This is nice if you have something with smaller cuts and details that don't quite come out of your sheet. You can just poke them out with this. It's technically for weeding vinyl, but it can be useful for cardstock projects as well. And then finally, I have my scraper tool. So this is handy for getting small pieces off of your mat once it's cut. You can just scrape them off. And it is also nice to do folds with cardstock. You can get a really nice crisp fold with this. Okay, so let's look at some basic information about the Cricut Design Space. So this is going to be the opening page when you first log in. You're welcome to either use your own account or you can use ours as well. We subscribe to Cricut Access, so we do have more access to some images and shapes and projects and that kind of thing than you would with a free account. It's up to you what you want to do. If you're not using the Cricut Design Space, you're just like downloading an SVG offline or online, you don't need to use Cricut Access, but if there are things that you're interested in, like all of these are Cricut Access, you can see that by the little green A in the top left corner. You're welcome to use our account as well. If you are using your own account, make sure that you are optimizing your experience for the Cricut Maker 3. If you were to use like Cricut Joy, there's something materials that the Cricut Maker 3 can use, and like different mats and that kind of thing, that aren't available on some of the other machines. So you won't be able to use them when you're designing your project. And I'm just going to click on New Project. Alright, so this is our canvas. Going along the left sidebar, we have some controls here. The 3 lines, you can go back to home if you decide you want to look at projects, or for whatever reason you can go back, and this will take you to the canvas, which is where we are now. New project will clear your canvas and start completely fresh. Templates, this is just basic templates for common projects that Cricut designers use. We are going to be using the card template. So this just kind of gives you like a basic idea of the shapes and sizes of what you're going to be doing. They're for reference only, and they're not going to be saved with your project. So they're helpful like if you wanted to make something on a hoodie. Let's just look at that. So I have my shirt here. So if I wanted something to go in the middle, or just on over the heart or on the sleeve, the template gives me an idea of where that'll show up and sort of the sizing that I'd want to use to get what I needed. You can see that you have your sizes. You can change from men's, women's, and kids. So it's really helpful if you're designing something specific. But I'm going to go back to our cards. And I'm not sure why, but the card template doesn't show up until you go back into templates sometimes. The projects bar is going to take you into complete projects that other people have made. A lot of times they're either the Cricut team. You can also find community projects as well. So if you kind of know exactly what you want to do, or putting together something like this would be pretty daunting for you, you can always check in the projects tab and see if someone else has made it before you. It is really helpful. Like, I like making these felt flowers, but I actually don't know how you would design it. So it's definitely a useful resource. And if you just wanted to pull a card rather than designing your own, there are a lot of cards on here. It is really helpful to use these as well. So if we go down, you can see it'll tell you the finished size, the description, if it's the difficulty level, how long it's going to take, and then all the materials and tools you're going to need, and the instructions to assemble it. And then if it's a Cricut project, it'll also have a link to their website for more tips and tricks and help. And then you have these as well. So those are the aspects of the design that are in the project. And then if you go to images, this will just be an image gallery. So you can see I was looking up retro stuff before. So the image library on Cricut Design Space is huge. So it really depends on what you're looking for. Once we start designing our cards, I'll give you a better idea of how to sort of filter to find exactly what you need. But for this one, you're gonna not be able to use something like let's see. You're not going to be able to do something like this because it does have the multiple colors and multiple layers. We're actually going to just have to use very simple designs for this project because we're just going to be doing a cutout and a drawing on the card. Text, I'll show you more of an example once we start designing our card. And then shapes. So this is just really basic shapes that you can add to your canvas. We're probably going to be using this square to make our card. I'm not sure where our template has gone. has not shown up yet. But something we can do. Something you can do instead is, the smallest card is a 3x3. I might do a 4.5 by 4.5. So you can pull out a basic shape and pull out just to that parameter. So you can either use the arrow in the corner here. If you unlock it, you can change all the sides of the shape, where if it's locked, you can just increase the size uniformly. This will turn the shape, and then I think this will delete it. Yeah. So I want my card to be 4.5 by 4.5. I can either use the arrow in the corner, or I can go up here to the top bar and just change it up there. So I want 2 of these. So if I did something like that, that would be the outside of my card, and then I would need this shape again for the inside. So what I'm gonna do is we're gonna go down to the bottom right bar now. So you can see here, we can see all of our layers. We can duplicate here, which is helpful. I just copied and pasted. But once I've aligned these, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of these. So I'm just going to click and drag. And I'm going to align these . So this whole thing will be 9 inches. That's perfect. So the align tool just makes it so there's no gaps in between anything. So what I'll do now is I'll use the weld function. So this will turn this into one shape. And we'll kind of go over the difference between that and attach in a bit. So now I'll just duplicate that so I have my inside and outside. And in shapes are also going to be our score line. So this is important to put in because we do want to score right in the middle of this. And something to keep in mind with the score lines too, you do want it to be the exact length or width of whatever you are scoring, because it does count as a shape. So if it's longer than whatever you're scoring, Cricut Design Space does take that into account when you're cutting. So just something to keep in mind. And I'll align this in the center horizontally. And grab another one. Put it on the inside of this one. Alright, and I'm gonna flip these. So you can either use the arrow, or you can use the rotate on the top bar. So I just want to rotate this 90 degrees. Bring that down so I can see the whole thing. All right. So now that we're getting ready to cut out our shapes, the Cricut Design Space does recognize different colors. So if I were to set this to gray, I'm doing a bicolor card. So you can see that both sides of the card will end up on the same sheet. But if I change the inside to pink, they end up on 2 separate sheets. You can't change the color once you've attached everything to it, so just make sure you're doing that ahead of time. Alright, so let's go into Make It. Alright, so this will be the preview of your mats. We have the score and basic cut. Our material size is 12 by 12. I'm just using scraps from another project that I did that are just like the perfect size to cut out. You can change the size of the material you're using. If you had a longer mat, Cricut does also sell 12 by 24 inch mats. There is also a mirror option. We're not going to be using that today. That would be if you were making something with infusible ink or iron-on material. You'd want to mirror it, but we're just cutting out basic shapes today. And that all looks good to me. You can move these around on your sheet as well. So if you're cutting out a bunch of different small shapes, you can move them around. And that just means Cricut doesn't always optimize its cutout sheet for reducing waste, so you can move things around and just make sure you're using the least amount of material possible. So I'm just going to select my machine. So I have light cardstock saved. You can go into Browse All Materials. There's a lot of different materials you can use with the Maker 3. I think it's over 300. We don't have the blades for all of them, but you can see there are a lot of options. So I'm going to select light cardstock. You can change the pressure. I like doing that if I'm cutting felt with the rotary blade. I use lighter pressure, otherwise it goes too far into the mat underneath. And I'm going to edit my tools because I'm using the scoring stylus, not the scoring wheel, which means that I don't have to take out the fine point blade. Okay, so to load my materials, so I'm going to go to clamp A. I'm going to flip that open, and I'm going to push the stylus in until it clicks, and then close that again. So a handy way to think about this is clamp A is for accessories, and clamp B is for blades. Alright, so now I'm going to get my mat ready. So I have my 2 sheets of colors. Green's going to be on the outside, pink's going to be on the inside. So I'm going to peel off the protective plastic and smooth my paper on. I'm just going to check which order this is being done in. Yeah, I want green first. So I'm going to smooth that on. There is a buffer, so it doesn't need to be exactly on the edge. Just get it as close as you can. And now I'm going to load this in. So I just want to make sure my mat is on under the clips on either side, and then I'm going to hit this flashing load button. And it's going to measure my material to make sure that I have enough for the project. If I don't have enough, I'll get a warning on my screen that says that. And I'm going to hit the flashing play now. have part of my card cut out. So the thing to keep in mind with paper and most other materials you're going to use, you want to peel the mat away from the material rather than peeling the material away from the mat. It can just lead to bending and warping if you do it the other way. Especially with paper, that's really difficult to fix once it's been bent. So you can see we just have our little pieces. I can see a spot that didn't quite cut all the way through, so I can just take my scissors and fix that. And then I'm also going to use my weeder just to poke through some of the smaller details. We didn't really have any little pieces on our mat, but if you do, you can just take your scraper, get them off, and we can put our pink sheet on now. So this one's going to be a little bit different because we're going to be using the pen for writing on the inside. So we're going to load the pen before the stylus. Or what are we going to do? We're going to load the stylus and then put the pen in. So now we have both our pieces. I'm going to do the same process as before, peeling the mat away. Alright, and you can use your finger for this, but I like using the scraper. You can get a really crisp line with it. So you have a couple options here. I'm gonna glue both sides, but if you wanted like a little bit more dimension, you could just glue the back and then you'll see the shadows from the front cut out a little bit more. But just because I have smaller details on the front, I'm going to glue both sides. Alright, and you'll also notice there's a little bit of pink sticking out at the bottom. So if you wanted it to be completely perfect, you could either get a pair of scissors or a paper cutter and just cut that off and it'll be completely aligned. But other than that, we are done our card. So we have a cutout on the front and then writing on the inside. And again, if you decide you want to follow along with this and make your own card, we would love to see it. So you can tag us on social media at RPLBC on Instagram. You can send us a message on Facebook or on here. Thanks for joining me this week, and we'll be back with more tutorials on using the Cricut later. Bye.